Start us off, Carter.
Beep, 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 boop. Boop, beep, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Beep, boop, boop, boop. And that was just a small excerpt from Robot Rhymes, poetry from the charging station. But actually, this is Don't Sleep on Football with Carter and Kevin. I'm Carter.
And I'm whatever my name is in binary. I did not have enough time to look that up.
You thought I was going to give you another like 30 minutes of beeps?
I was hoping for a little bit more. Not a
I
whole
originally
lot
was
more.
going to do binary, but then I'm like that sounds even worse. And
That's like
mostly I was
typing
just
in
parroting
and
the
then
Mr. Krabs thing.
you gotta like translate it unless if you know binary like relatively flawlessly.
Do you have any idea why binary exists?
It's just kind of like a simplification for things because it's basically like, at least to my understanding, it's a language basically that is just consists of like yes and no, if that makes sense.
But robots could understand other stuff. It's just
Well,
easier to do it this way.
yeah, it makes it
Okay.
simpler to understand for the robots. Plus, it was also invented in a time before modern insano technology.
Okay. I still think it's sus, but all right. But anyway, we are on to week 3. We are speed running through the month of September. It is already the 27th at time of recording. We will be on to October by the time week 4 is over. Um, I genuinely I feel like the wait for the season was interminable. I felt like it was a particularly long off season, only to turn around and have the season kind of just blowing by.
It's speedy. It's not. It is being very quick.
Yes. Well, apparently everyone just wants to get to Christmas these days, so we're getting through the fall games. Shall we dive into the highlights?
Yeah, we shall.
Your note is in all caps is Jordan fucking Davis, and my line is the game of the year at this time of day, localized entirely in Southern Philadelphia. How many more weeks do you think I'm going to get a game good enough to justify that?
I don't. I.
I'm already looking at this week's
I'm
coming
looking
games,
at
and I'm
this
like,
upcoming week.
one of them's got to give me something.
There's a couple of them that I can see being contenders for something crazy. Maybe, maybe week 5. That's when bye weeks start and stuff. So everyone chills out a little bit.
Hmm.
We're already out of the gate of the season, and things get a little bit weirder.
Right.
People decide
Um,
to be chill. People decide not to be chill.
right. I do feel like what helps is there is an odd feeling of desperation weirdly early in this season. Like, you called it. A lot of the big dogs have kind of been humbled a bit,
Yeah,
which I feel like has put a lot of unnecessary pressure on these early games. And even the Eagles, who are now 3-0, feels like they're sweating a little bit. It
they
feels like they had something to prove with this game.
they were very sweaty. It was a nerve wracking game. It was a nerve wracking time slot, um, where it's basically two of the top like people that are showing out for the NFC, the
Hmm.
Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams. The Eagles have been winning, but I wouldn't say it's been dominant.
The discourse on the Philadelphia sports radio is not we're 2-0. It's what is wrong with this team?
Yeah, and then it's like you have the
Except they day drink, so it sounds slurrier.
yeah,
But
and then you have the Rams, which are like uh, like a very good team, and not secretly like they're secretly strong, but not secretly strong.
right.
Like
There's only so many years in a row we can be like, don't sleep on them. They're a Super Bowl contender
yeah,
before it's like, they're just going to be a contender until Matthew Stafford retires. Okay. Can we just like pencil them into the table?
yeah. So with this game and my main man Jordan fucking Davis, um, it was his game. Like there's no
Hmm.
other way to describe it. The the Rams had these low line drive style punts, which annoying, but I won't deny on a strategy level, like for their like getting it in the distance and stuff. It's like, all right, you kind of got me on this one. I hate
Hmm.
it, but you know what? It checks out. I'll give you that one.
Right.
And it was an absolute. It was like arguably the worst first half of football the Eagles have played in at least a calendar
Genuinely.
year.
I was going to say it because what was it like week 4 when they were 2-2 last year, and there
Yes.
was the energy of like this might be it. This thing might
Yeah.
be blowing up soon.
And then Nick Sirianni shaved his head, and then they just started
And
winning.
they're like, what if we just never throw the ball ever again? And this game, weirdly,
It
is like the
started
parallel
like that.
dimension version of this.
Yeah, it
Um,
started off with them just going for all these runs. Like they scored early on their first drive in the first quarter, and then they just couldn't get things going. It was like, all right, let's hold them to a field goal, and then they got a touchdown, and then we're gonna hold them to a bunch more field goals. Um, Going into the half, it was 19-7, and Philadelphia looked
it
like they
felt
didn't
worse than
know.
that.
It felt way worse than that, and they literally like the Rams were like, "Hey, we should stop Saquon," and the
Yes.
Eagles coordination department was just like, "What if we just kept handing it to Saquon?" And it's like third and long, and it's just like, run it with Saquon. It hasn't worked all game. It'll work this time. And then it's just like, tackle for a loss.
Right.
What do you?
This is the first game in a while where it really felt like, other than the Super Bowl, where it really just felt like they'd completely sold out to stop him. He was averaging like less than 3 yards a pop. And on top of that, like, it was the same
18
thing we've been
carries for
discussing all year.
46 yards.
Yeah, and it felt worse than that, especially
Right.
because we still, going into this game, there was a big discussion point about how they'd not completed a pass between 12 and 19 yards. And it sure felt like that this game, truly stuck in the mud stuff. And, I know you're thinking 19-7 isn't that bad a score. That's just like 2 scores. They can get that back. I believe it was the first drive of the second half.
Correct.
Uh, was it the first drive
It
where
was
they gave up
within the first minute.
48 seconds within 2 plays? Jalen Hurts gets absolutely shamooked, absolutely walloped, absolutely third thing. Fumble recovered for a touchdown. Or no, they end up scoring on the very next play. And then you guys, like, I was watching you guys go through it in the text chain. You guys just gave
Uh,
up on that game.
it was it was a hot pile of garbage. And then something snapped in
I
between. I think
I'm
I
so
like what
curious what's
Danny
happening behind the scenes.
I like what Danny said. It's probably not true, but I like it because he's just like, what if, like, Jalen Hurts just took out the earpiece that had all the plays being called to him? He just threw it out at halftime and is just going, like, calling it all himself. Because after that first touchdown of the second half, it was nothing but like the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts looked alive.
Right.
Like it
Um,
wasn't like a like there was obviously it wasn't like a perfect half and like some misplays here, some miscalled plays there. Like that'll happen, but it's just like it looked like it was like, oh, I'm going to feed into my own strengths. And then
right.
a couple of blocked field goals, one by Jalen Carter, and I'm pretty sure the conversation went like this. He kicks it low, so we could probably block it. And then Jalen Carter blocked the one field goal attempt. And then it bounced off Jordan Davis's arms. And Jalen Carter just looked at him and just went, beat that. Hot Wheel style. And then Jordan Davis was like, all right, you'll see.
Right. What's
And then,
funny is they still should have lost that game. It
oh,
literally
they
did come
should have.
down to the last two drives for the Rams where they
Yeah.
did move the ball, ending in blocked field goals.
Yep. And then the Eagles scored right after the 2 minute warning with another touchdown, but then they botched the 2 point conversion. So it was 26-27 with time to get into field goal range.
Hmm.
And then it became insane where it's just like, all right, they're making their way down. It's like they're looking good. They're looking good. Oh, they're not looking good. Something happened. Oh, they made a solid completion. Oh, the Rams are in range. And then classic Nick Sirianni icing the kicker. Granted, it's like classic for like every single coach to try and ice the kicker.
Oh yeah.
And it's like 3 seconds left, and I'm sitting there like he missed one earlier in the game, so it's like this isn't a guaranteed. And I'm sitting there clenching so hard that I don't think I could even sweat. All my pores were closed. Um, and then that's when I started swearing because they went for another kick, and this Cardi, good at low line drive kicks, but you got to get past the guy beating the Hot Wheels beat that Jordan Davis, where he just he blocks Jalen Carter from blocking the kick too. If you watch that
And
replay close up, you see that happen.
yes, Jordan Davis, who kind of the
He's a
story of the offseason is he capable of becoming a three down player? Is he capable
yes.
of getting good enough shape that he doesn't need to come off for plays?
He
And the answer is I don't know, but he can run fast now.
yeah he's clear like rookie season. He was a rookie backing up like Fletcher Cox, and it's just like, all right, you're not gonna be like the guy like that. And then second season, like last year, he would get he would do good. You needed two men on him because he was just so big.
Hmm.
But the second you he would get gassed right away, and that was already an improvement of the previous season because he was not exactly Mr. Perfect Health, especially like stamina wise. And then this season, dude's playing like triple the amount of snaps that he played at this point last year, and he's not even gassed. He's just like, all right, I'm gonna slim down, and then he just does it,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
he blocks a field goal, and then just breaks into an 18-mile-per-hour sprint for 61 yards to bring it back at a time-ending field goal.
Right. Wholly unnecessary for him to do that. He could have just fallen down and that would have been the game. But no, no, no,
No,
no.
this
He
is
had to.
this is him like confirming the game.
Um, but yes, I'm so curious what's happening behind the scenes because Jalen Hurts was a little bit cryptic and odd while talking about the offensive coordinator, and it really did feel like, and it's always so hard to tell how much of it is the coordinator, how much of it is like,
Outside
who dictates
influence.
what, like what the actual plan is versus the execution. But it did feel like there was a pivot from, conservatism to like, what if we just throw it to the two wide receivers who are top 10 in the NFL? Like, it felt inevitable A.J. Brown was going to have a breakout game. And this is the one that reminds you of like, oh, right, he is like a top 5 wide
He's
receiver in the NFL.
actually
He's just bigger than
really
everyone
good.
he goes up against.
Yeah. No, but it
Um,
was just an insane ending. As you know, big Jordan Davis guy. I've had his jersey since his rookie year because I'm like, there's something about this kid, and that was it.
I, I, I appreciate that. I appreciate the off kilter jerseys. But yeah, I am curious about going forward. One of the best points that was made during the game is like, people always insist that the run game sets up the pass. And it's like, no, no,
No,
no, no. None this in this NFL, you spread it out so you get open sets that they have to play you honest in base coverage. and that's what opens up all the running lanes. And it is funny because I always feel like the Eagles have wanted to be a heavy pass team since Sirianni got there, and they always just end up pivoting to let's just run the ball, let's just run the ball, let's just run the ball. That first year, Jalen Hurts basically you know, they pivot to kind of the old Josh Allen offense of run. Our quarterback's acting like a wing T quarterback.
Hmm.
Then last year, Hurt. It really does feel like last year the whole discourse of Hurts throwing too many interceptions kind of fundamentally changed how this team's approaching things. And I hope this game sort of broke that, where it's like you can't. I'd rather you throw two interceptions but get us 40 points than get us 20 points but we didn't have any turnovers. I do
Yeah.
hope this airs things out a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It was a very messy. Like we have to. I think it's a matter of like you have to rely on the front half, and then it's just like we're relying on the front half, and then it's just like, all right, we're not front half, like run game, and it's just like we're relying on the run game. And last year it was like it was still under the mindset of, oh, Saquon's washed, he's old, all this stuff, and then everyone was like, oh, he's not, he's just behind a legitimate offensive line
hmm
where it's not, and he has other people, so it's not just, oh, it's him and no other options. It's
Right.
it's a matter of like, and that's why I think he took off so much last season because it was they were already so deep into the season when people were like, "Oh, Saquon's actually good." That unless if they wanted to like hard reboot their defense for one game, they couldn't really do it. And then
Right.
you noticed that like Kansas City didn't really let Saquon do much in the Super Bowl. They they stopped a lot of stuff, and it's just like, all right, and then they let him. But now it's like he's not really putting up crazy stats because everyone's prepared for him.
hmm Yeah. Honestly, I'm so curious how the rest of the season goes because, again, it feels like something fundamentally shifted in how they're approaching the game
Mm-hmm.
now. It
It's
feels like if something got figured out by the Chiefs and the Rams,
I think
this is them introducing a new wrinkle.
I think it's going to be the next two games are going to be the most critical for
Mhm.
the rest of their season. And I'm not saying they're the most difficult teams. They still have Lions, Packers, Bills to go throughout the season, which Bills Eagles in week 18 is kind of crazy.
They really
Um,
waited that long for that game.
yeah, but the Eagles
Jesus.
have the Buccaneers, who they're notoriously bad against. I it's it's some sort of dark magic or something like that, where Jalen Hurts just cannot beat Baker Mayfield.
Oh, I ain't playing Hurts tomorrow. I don't
I'll
care
take
how
him.
much I spent on him. I ain't
I'll
playing
take
him.
him. I will trade you him right now.
No,
Um,
I'll just play Jordan. I'll just play Jordan Love.
I'll take him too.
Before we go,
But yeah,
well, no, then I need a quarterback.
I'll trade you Gino. Um,
Well, I feel
got
less good about
shot in the
that.
foot by Joe Burrow on that one.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's some stock I'm selling. I'll tell you that for free. But
but yeah, Buccaneers Eagles are notoriously bad against. I wouldn't be surprised if this is their first loss of the
mhm.
season. And then the following week, week 5, they have the Broncos, who have a very solid defense, and their backfield is really good, and their front line is pretty good, but their backfield is like I feel like could stop most pass games. So it's going to be a matter of um, I think that's going to be this is going to be the fitness test of
What are you, a cowboy?
apparently of
Jesus.
who's um, how good they actually do.
hmm
If they look competent in these two games, we're sitting pretty. But if they look like crap, I'm nervous for the actual like big team games like Lions, Packers, Bills. Although
Right,
I hope
right.
Carson Wentz is still playing when they play the Vikings. I hope he's still the number one at that point.
Oh God, that would be
That would be so
genuinely
entertaining.
so much fun.
Unfortunately,
Well,
it's in
before
Minnesota, not Philadelphia. That's two
oh
different
God,
games.
that's probably for the best. But before we go to our next point, I did want to jump one highlight we have. This is
Sure.
I'm declaring this the year special teams blew up. I was trying to do a riff on the Looney Tunes the day the Earth blew up, and it didn't quite work. Have you seen that? I don't know how much of a
I
Looney
need
Tunes
to.
person you are.
Huge Looney
I know
Tunes
you're a
fan.
Muppets person.
I'm a Muppets guy. Very big Muppets guy.
You
Very big Looney Tunes guy.
Oh, you do reference Albuquerque a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'd recommend it. It's finally on Max. It's
Oh,
great.
dope. Yeah, I was
The
waiting
best
for it
line
to
I've
come out
heard
in
of,
theaters.
yeah, the best line I've heard about it is as good as fun as Looney Tunes Back in Action is back when we were kids. The Day the Earth Blew Up is the movie they wish they were making in the sort of meta-ness of
Dope.
because like Back in Action is meta. It's about them as actors in the industry, and it's like these are the kind of movies they'd want to be making. But anyway, I feel like this is the year, like we're having a banner year for special teams because this is not the only game that was almost or decided by a blocked field goal. Buccaneers, New York, a very entertaining back and forth
Yes.
game. The Jets were able to get back into it late because they blocked a kick, which was returned for a 50-yard touchdown. And it's mostly now their coach became a meme because he was dancing on the sidelines, and you can kind of sync up his movements to whatever song you want.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay Cleveland, which we'll talk about, also had a decisive blocked kick leading into a field goal to win the game.
Which also Green Bay kick block as well as the Jets one happened within like 5 minutes of Jordan Davis's touchdown.
Really, it felt like
it
they were all
was
kind of packed together.
like pretty much whatever channel or market you're in. If you watched a game at like specifically like 3:05 or whatever time it was roughly, which was not
Mhm.
3:05, you would just see a blocked kick across the board, no matter what.
Yes. And that's before we even get into in the Seattle beatdown of New Orleans. Rookie Torrey Horton returned a 95-yard punt for a touchdown, the first Seattle has had, I believe, in over 10 years, if I'm remembering the story. And that's not including like the multiple kickoff returns for touchdowns we've had over the last few weeks. It just feels like a year where special teams, like again, I know you are the field goals win games czar,
Mm-hmm.
but this is like the first year where I really do feel like special teams actually matters.
It
Like
it
we had
feels
that
like it
kickoff, yeah.
matters more, and I don't know if it's just like a thing, but I feel like outside of it mattering more on like kickoffs and punts, the field goal rate has seemed like dog crap this season. It feels like a lot of misses, a lot of kicker changes have been happening because
Yes, Youngwei Koo was cut from the Atlanta Falcons.
yes,
Someone who I thought would be on the team for forever, but rough year.
he's a real good kicker, and he was out for like he was asked to stay off the field. I guess is the best way to describe it. I wouldn't say he was out, but he was asked to stay off the field, and their replacement one they just liked better. But now he's on the Giants, which is interesting.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
where I
he's
ended
a
up?
Giant now.
Huh.
It's gonna be
But
him, Jackson Dart, and Cam Scattaboo, just kind of going insane.
oh, what a team. But yeah, it's interesting because you're right. There have been a lot of egregiously missed field goals. There have been a couple extra point misses. But like the combination of like the range of the field goal becoming so big, the kickoff actually mattering now and not just being a weird little formality we do because we have to have commercials somewhere, and like the punt game coming, like apparently we just have a golden age of athletes who are capable of getting the 5 yards and like jumping over someone in order to block the kick.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it just feel like I know it's like, you know, it's the tired dude bro football memes of like all three phases matter, but actually now it does because this literally swinged like 3 games.
Yeah. No,
I'm
it's
curious what you think about the kickoff rule though, now that like because a part of the kickoff thing is now like people only need to go like 10 yards to kick a field goal.
Yeah. I kind of I hate I like they've done tweaks since last season, and I'm kind of a fan of these tweaks, but like better than last season. But I think my biggest issue is still there's no opportunity for a surprise onside kick.
Hmm.
Um, I still think that is one of the most electric plays of all of football.
Agreed.
Um,
Yeah, honestly, I think uh, like I prefer this. Yeah, I know it's kind of lame that teams only need to go like 10 yards now after a touchback to get a field goal, but it's like,
I like
okay,
it
you
feels
have to adapt to that.
it feels better and like teams are working it more than they did last season. Last season it felt clunky.
Hmm.
Now we have all these kickers that are doing all these these line drive kicks, which they weren't used to doing because it's like if it goes out the back, it's like you're at the 35 pretty much or whatever. Um,
Hmm.
I I think I'm a fan of how the teams in the league have adapted to this kickoff rule. It felt like they didn't really adapt to it last year. This time it feels like they've adapted, and the prioritization of these like line drive kickers are making a lot more missed kicks and field goals, and they're kicking low. Like
Hmm.
last year, if you wanted a field goal, like your kicker who's trained to kick out the back of the end zone, it's just like, all right, cool. I just have to get it really high, really fast, and straight, and then we're golden. And then this year, it feels like since they have to be more precise and lined up, they've all trained to go like a lot slower of a parabola,
Hmm.
and that's kind of what's resulting in all these blocks, in my opinion. Is they have to
Oh,
they're
that's
practicing
interesting. You
it.
think the kickoff has sabotaged the field
I
goal
think
because
it,
you're so used to kicking low now?
yeah,
Do we have to teach punters how to kick off to like prevent
because
that?
I mean maybe, but because like I think here's like the like thought process of it, where all your entire career, like let's say Jake Elliott for example, his entire career, he has to just kick it super far out the back, kick it out the back of the end zone, like
Hmm.
distance kicker, be relatively straight down the line. That's it, and make the field goal so he could kick as high or as low as he wanted. But now because of this rules, everyone wants to get it at that five like 5 yard line plus or minus a little bit. So you're working on a lot more precision and stuff. And you go for these lower kicks because if you botch a kick straight up high, like when you're trying to pull it short, that's not going to go like, oh, like 3 yards short like you would do with like a lower kick.
Hmm.
It's you're botching it like 10, 15 yards short if it arcs too high and you don't have enough power. So like these low line drive kicks are changing the game, and I don't hate it.
Right. My biggest priority was make kickoff returns a thing again, and then everything else we'll figure out from there. Like people learn how to kick how they need to. People learn how to like position it so teams aren't always getting it at like the 40. Like at the end of the day, I think one of the lamest things that's happened. Well, I don't want to say lame because it was a safety concern, but like the elimination of the kickoff is one of the worst things that's happened to the sport in terms of making it more interesting. So like we've made we've made progress. It's not perfect yet, but we'll get there.
It's
Um,
it feels better than last year, I will say. I think that's the bottom line of last
right.
year. It felt like kicking was non necessary and kind of stupid.
Right. Because, when the kickoff was just moved to the 30, it's like, well, that's not that much of a penalty.
Yeah.
Um, but our next point, you just wrote down good game, Caleb, and this will also be a low light for me because the Cowboys are going to make history with their defense. Derogatory.
I was just
So,
like, do you think he had a bad game? Because
well, I think it might. I'm not going to rule out that it's a slightly misleading game
I
because I
won't
think
deny
we
that.
really need to factor in that the Dallas defense is going to be historically bad on passing. Um, but yes, Caleb Williams almost certainly had his best game as a pro, a beatdown of the Dallas Cowboys, 31-14. He threw for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns, including a delightful flea flicker. Was it me or did you've seen the flea flicker, right?
Yes.
I thought he was going to get killed because for some reason DeAndre Swift tossed it up like a dad teaching his kid how to catch pop flies.
Yeah, I'll agree. That was kind of like, what are we doing here?
Right. That is like classic, like sort of old school football coach puts him on the bench for a bit because it's like that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
But yes, they absolutely lit up the Cowboys. I will say I did just question the goodness of this game, but it was his he's shown highlights. Like he's shown moments in almost every game he's been in that show why people felt he was like a generational quarterback prospect. Like a can't miss, gotta get him #1 prospect in terms of his creation, in terms of his ability to just kind of flick the ball deep, in terms of his in terms of his ability to make dynamic plays happen with just his feet and his arm. And I think, the problem was everything in structure. This game was a good example of kind of doing both, where the handful of set plays they had looked really, really good. Like he was going through his reads, he was making the play that was necessary, but also he still can move around. He's still moving around. He's still doing crazy things where you're like, okay, maybe 5 other guys can move their arm in that specific way to get that throw off.
Yeah.
The good news is, though, Dallas's run defense is 17th now. You know what's awesome about that, though? Matt Nagy is the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, the former Chicago Bears head coach. And look, I can't prove it, but I'm 99% sure that he was one of the guys bad-mouthing Caleb in that piece we were talking about last week. Imagine coaching this guy for a whole year, basically blaming him for you getting fired, and then being like, we're going to show him. We're going to, I'm going to whip up a scheme. I believe there was a line that was like, and we were talking to Dallas and they said a lot of conversations in the hallways with Matt, a lot of conversations about how Caleb's brain ticks. And I'm like, are you sure he wasn't? It makes me question how lucid Matt Eberflus was last year, frankly.
Yeah. No, I just put this in because yes, the Cowboys very much blundered the game a decent bit.
Mm-hmm.
Won't deny that. But it felt like he had an appropriate stat line, and things seemed competent for them in a good way.
Yes. Right, because that's the thing. A lot of this game was just competency. Other than the flea flicker, they weren't running Ben Johnson gets a reputation for running all kinds of wackadoo trick plays.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this game was kind of mean potatoes, no frills, just get the job done.
Yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. You're not doing all these trick plays. You're not hacking the game with the tush push. You're just playing football.
Good old American football.
And the people you're playing with are like, yeah, we know how to play.
Well, yeah, but that's exactly what they need. That's exactly the last year, there was the whole piece before the hit piece about just how listless and directionless the offense was. And so much of what Ben Johnson's talked about is just straight up just yeah, I don't think we're practicing well. We're not doing the things you have to do to be a functioning football team. And this was the first game where I'm like, this feels like a functioning football team. This is what we were hoping we would see last year of like bare minimum competency, making the plays that are there and executing well. And I'm like, I do hope, because again, this being a highlight is partially because Caleb Williams' success or failure is kind of critical to the sport, for lack of a better word. Like it is kind of, a lot of people put a lot of stock in him being one of the next quarterbacks. We kind of need more quarterbacks in the NFC. So like, yeah, him looking how we've been hoping is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, it felt good. I felt like he deserved the credit. Typically, we don't. We've had a lot of, not, I wouldn't say negative about him, but his performances haven't lined up well, and I'm not saying it's been his fault, but it's been his fault adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes. I am excited. I will add him to the list of guys I'm watching with interest now, because now I feel like something's come together.
I just
Next.
the wrong thing. It was just, so that's why that sound was there. I accidentally.
The other.
I went to look up this point, but then I opened up the highlight video.
Oh, jeez. The other note I wanted to make on quarterbacks is I'm going to wait until we reach a quarter of the year to make bold predictions, but the Justin Herbert MVP season kind of feels incoming. And I would argue this wasn't his best game. He threw for 300 yards, but like his quarterback rating was under 50. He was under duress a lot of the game. Like the Broncos pass rush was there, even if their like pass coverage hasn't been as good as you'd hope. It has regressed a little bit. I do think Patrick Surtain has an ankle injury. He apparently rolled his ankle in the last game, and it felt that way in this game.
Yeah, he looked rough. I think I'm not saying I support your statement on it's like his MVP season, because I'm still kind of out-ish on Justin Herbert.
Interesting.
Like I've never really been team Justin Herbert. You can look up the
Yes.
records on that one.
We've discussed this.
But I will say he's playing incredibly good this season.
Right. Because even if, as I said, this wasn't his best game, when it mattered, he looked like maybe the best quarterback in football. It was a good game. It was a 23-20 kind of back and forth. It felt like the Broncos were at least getting a little something together offensively.
Yeah.
But the final...
They looked good. Both teams looked good.
Yes, but the final two drives for the Chargers were a 7-play, 76-yard touchdown to Keenan Allen, absolute dart into the end zone as he's getting like tackled, actively like has a body wrapped around him, and then an 8-play, 43-yard field goal to win the game. And what's amazing is it just felt inevitable, and that's kind of like my sign of like an MVP level quarterback. It's like if you give them the ball with 2 minutes left, they're just going to win the game.
Yeah.
And also because so much of the MVP is like a narrative thing. If, even a scenario where the Bills pass them for the number one seed or another team passes them for the number one seed, the idea that like, if they get the 1 or 2 seed, they have like 10 to 12, they have like 12-ish wins. Like I do feel the narrative of like Justin Herbert, he's finally here. He's finally what we wanted him to be after his rookie season.
I think this is their best case, or like the best case for kind of keeping the Chiefs out of the divisional slot. But
well, even just that, being like we're the ones who finally took down the Chiefs. Like,
yeah, they started a 3-game loss or a 2-game loss streak for them. Technically, the Chiefs lost 3 times in a row, including the Super Bowl. 6 if you want to include the preseason, but preseason never counts.
But yes. But yeah, no. Like we're getting to the heart of it. It's like maybe they will just crap out in the playoffs again. Maybe the San Diego, LA Chargers are just kind of cursed when it comes to that sort of thing. But at the Bears minimum, this is the year where the argument in favor of them is this team feels different. And it does. The defense feels innovative. It feels like kind of a buzzsaw. Like the offense is finally, again, what we wanted this offense to be. Competent enough in the run game that Justin Herbert can go and sling the ball downfield. And Jets in general, he's gone from being kind of like a guy who is good at football to a guy who is like the leader of the team. He feels more in charge. He takes bigger risks. He runs with the ball more. Like all this stuff we were getting the sense of last year coming together.
I think also, I think I said it in like week one, but it's like you got his, he has a, like not the youngest offensive line, but they picked up Mekhi Becton, Super Bowl winner. It is no longer Joe Alt's first, like his rookie season, like it was last year, and he was he's good at his position. Like
Oh yeah.
he
Well,
was
even
like
just they
what is
lost
it like
Rashad Slater, and
fifth
and they didn't miss a beat, and
overall
that's
last
yeah.
year, something absurdly early. And it's just like I think that plus Mekhi Becton just kind of enhances their offensive line enough that it's like, all right, Herbert can actually chill, like in the pocket for a second, because I think for like
Right.
more for like your trench positions, your rookie season is never gonna be your first like your best season,
Oh
like
yeah.
because it's like you gotta take the beatings first, especially if you're a starter. And now the Chargers have actually they have a pretty interesting slate of games where I think we could truly see how much of a contender they are. They got the Giants, the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Colts, Vikings, Titans, all I
It's
think
not a terrible.
it's in favor for them. So I think this if they want to like try something and like just get more comfortable, this is your stretch. And then the ending of the season is when they have the Eagles, the Chiefs again, the Broncos again, where things might be a little bit more difficult. Injuries start stacking up. So yeah, I think this will be fun, a fun tell.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is like you brought up Joe Alt, and it's just so funny. They lost Rashawn Slater, and like for 9 teams out of 10, losing your starting left tackle is just a season ender. Like it's just off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, like oh, we don't have a shot this year. Like your offense turns into mud. You just can't get anything done. But the fact that they can literally just slot in one of the other best tackles in the NFL, and he doesn't miss a beat, and the offense looks completely fine, you are like, man, this is kind of why, like, this is why you talk your, for all the people who are mad they didn't pick Malik Neighbors, it's like, yeah, but this is kind of why you do it. If you have there are way more elite, and I'm thinking about this also in the context of Will Howard, the tackle the Patriots drafted this year, who's okay, like he's doing good, but he was never even considered on the level of like a Joe Alt or Penny Sewell or these other like number one tackle prospects, and it really is like at the end of the day, there's always more elite wide receiver prospects than there are tackle prospects, and you kind of have to go get the tackle prospects if you have the chance to get them, because it's like, yeah, that's a difference between that's a difference between them being 3-0 and feeling like a new Chargers team, or being 1-2 and it's like fucking same old Chargers. You can swap the coaches out. Herbert sucks. Like, the same like curse that's loomed over them like ever since Herbert became their quarterback of like, why aren't you guys better? That's not happening this year because again, you had 2 top 10 tackles, and you put one in and you didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Um, don't sleep on game results. Do you want to cover Green Bay Cleveland really quick because we've already talked about it a little bit?
I feel like it's topping. We could just top this off real quick.
Yes. I
Um,
think the moral of this game really is just like sometimes an elite defense can make a game stupid.
yeah.
Like
It's
under no reasonable circumstances should Green Bay have lost this game. But when you're going up against
you're
a
going up
great
against
defense, sometimes this happens.
insane defense, and that's exactly it. and their defense definitely lost it a little bit in the fourth quarter.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't say it's a debilitating loss to like a surprisingly extra strong team, but I wouldn't say it's like, oh no, what do we do?
Right.
I
I
don't
do.
I don't
Right.
think the need to panic is there.
Right. Like, it feels slightly like this was. I do feel like Green Bay had to come down a little bit. They might have had a little too much smoke blown up their butt to start. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but how many other teams are going to get, how many other teams are capable of getting 5 sacks against them? Because how many teams have a Miles Garrett level talent? Uh, excuse me. Um, you know, ha, how many times are like is Cleveland like how many teams are going to give up like 3 field goals in the final quarter? Like there are so many weird freak things in this game. I'm willing to chalk it up as just a fluke, and probably better for Green Bay in the long run. Of like, you know, the season's not over already. You're not in the Super Bowl yet.
Yeah.
Um, And mine was Pittsburgh at New England, a fascinating game. And despite being 1-2, what's wild is I actually think the Patriots, of all outside of the Bills, I actually think they kind of look the best of anyone in their division. Like, you know, I feel like we saw the ceiling with the Jets in week 1. Like, if everything's clicking, they can look really good. But I feel like that's going to be less often than we'd like. The Dolphins, put up a good fight against the Bills, but you know, even though everything possible was going wrong for the Bills, it still didn't really matter. Um,
Mhm.
Whereas I watched this game and I'm like, under no circumstances should Pittsburgh have won this game. Like, you know, again, same song as always. A Pittsburgh offense that wants to be a run-first team but can't run the ball, and has a quarterback who can't average more than 7 yards a throw, and they kind of just dinked and dunked their way to success. Whereas the Patriots had them dead to rights multiple times, and it was just a series of like catastrophic turnovers, particularly Ramondre Stevenson fumbling it twice, including one literally into the end zone, the touchdown that would have decided the game,
Yeah.
just bonk into the end zone. And Drake May just had a really bad interception. Like, Drake May has shown a lot of good flashes, but he also very much looks like a young guy who is convinced he can make every throw. And I do think he's still in the process of, like, getting past that arm arrogance.
That's fair. Like I said, yeah, that's a fair assessment.
And it's worth noting that compared to Daniels and Bo Nix, he is, like, the more traditional route of, like, less transfers, kind of just college and out. So, like, I'm willing to give him a little more grace on that. I do, worry that, like, in the rush to bring back all of these Patriots coaches, have they kind of doomed this thing? Because again, we've seen Mike Vrabel have success, but his like adamant insistence of continuing to play Ramondre Stevenson, literally, he like kept talking about like we need him to be good, we need him to be on the field, and I'm like, based off what? He's had a really bad run of fumbles. Like even going into last year, he just cannot hold on to the ball. Or like the fact that you bring back oh my god, I always forget his name. Josh McDaniel. Too many McDaniel and
Yeah.
McDaniels like in the NFL. But you bring him back, and I'm like, why would you bring back a guy who's washed out as an NFL head coach twice to be your offensive coordinator? Like I am just a little skeptical of the coaching staff now on the grounds of like, you know, was going back to the well of like Patriots All Stars really the right call?
Answer may shock you.
Probably not. Um, and yeah, I need someone to get serious about taking. Like Pittsburgh technically is leading their division right now, and I don't like that. That can't be. That is an unacceptable situation.
that feels that feels like less of a lead a division than some of the other ones.
Oh yeah.
Like
Um,
the Bills are dominating the AFC East.
right. Somehow the division got even worse.
Yeah, but like the Buccaneers' dominance is like of their division way outside of
Mm,
Pittsburgh.
right. Not all divisions are made equal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the lowlights.
Yep. So we already touched on the first half of the Eagles. and Packers loss. Um, Another simple one. Atlanta's the first team of the season to put up a goose egg.
Can I just
Oddly
say
enough,
that's
against the Panthers, which is kind of crazy.
yes. Can I just say congrats to the NFL for everyone else scoring a point in every other game? Like even just a field goal. Good job,
Looking at you,
everybody.
Giants.
Yeah. Even the Giants at least got a field goal. But like Atlanta, genuinely a jaw-dropping, baffling, infuriating game.
It was
As
at the
someone who
same
has
time slot as the Eagles, and so I was like, I can't turn away. And then I had the scores up, and then I like looked over at one point, and it's just
you
like,
literally screenshotted and said, "What
yeah,
the hell is this?" And the answer is, outside of Bijan Robinson, I don't know what the Falcons do well at this point.
uh,
Like, yes, they're a very good
there's
running team. They're good at
there's
establishing the run.
Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who had 55 and 44 yards respectively.
I traded in our fantasy league we're in. I traded Drake London straight up for J.K. Dobbins, and I know objectively that probably isn't a smart trade. A part of it is I need a starting running back because I'm not depending on a Patriots rookie and injured James Conner anymore. But also, I just can't stand to have a Falcon on my team anymore. This this weirdly felt like a game that's emblematic of everything that's been wrong with the Falcons during this weird era where they've like spent a boatload on offensive talent of like, well, if the quarterback is just good, well, guess what? He's not. Um, it was a baffling game watching it from Michael Penix's perspective. He simply refused to like push the ball downfield. He wasn't like, and he talked about it. He's like, I was rushing too quick to like check downs and like sideline throws. And I'm like, and that's troubling because the Panthers defense is objectively better than it was last year, but it was historically bad last year. That's not a high bar to surpass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what's funny is I don't even think the Panthers play outside of their defense played particularly that well. I think they kind of just watched the Falcons self-immolate.
If you get a triple bogey, a bogey is still, or a double bogey is still better, but it's still not great for a professional.
Right.
Not for me. It's luck.
Right. All right. But yeah, and it's just a continuing of like a really disturbing trend for the Falcons because I don't think the offense has looked particularly good in any of these games.
No.
Again, outside of Bijan Robinson, who might just be the best offensive player in the league right now, I've just watched where it's like, you know, you draft Michael Penix and it kind of makes sense because it's like, what was he good at in college? Throwing it deep downfield, pushing it. He was a gunslinger. He had a lot of good wide receiver talent around him, and he just would like air it out like 40 times a game, get the ball, step, throw. And despite having a team that's theoretically built to do that, you just haven't done that. He's either checking it down or trying to force it or like just running away with the ball. His interceptions were hideous in this game. They literally had to put Kirk Cousins in. And now you've inexplicably started a quarterback controversy on a team that should not have a quarterback controversy.
Yeah. It's
It's
also a weird quarterback controversy. Like
I am kind of like, do you just go with Kirk Cousins? Because you pay him more money.
Yeah, we'll find out at 1:00. I was like, what time are they the foreign game? No.
No, but you kind of can't go back to Kirk Cousins at this point, even though I'm like, I feel like there's no fundamental difference right now.
Yeah.
The other low light I wanted to bring up is the Jaguars-Texans game might have been the saddest football game in recorded human history. A 17-10 game where neither team was cloaked in glory.
Yeah. It wasn't like oh my god, this is a close nail biter. This was like, oh my god, one of you do something.
Right. That's the thing. It was. I'd say it's sad, but it's not even sad. It's just boring as shit. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like it really was. Let's look at the drive. Let's look at the drive chart and just see what someone who paid actual human money to go to this game in a recession, mind you, would have witnessed. 3-play punt, 3-play punt, missed field goal, touchdown, 3-play punt, 6-play punt, field goal, 3-play punt, 3-play punt. That's the kicker. We're not even getting first downs. Negative 21 yards and a punt, 3-play punt, 5-play punt. Oh, be still my heart. Don't they know it's Christmas? End of half. Field goal, punt, missed field goal, interception, punt, punt, punt. It is alarming how many of these are 3 plays. One play, basically the only play that was even kind of noticeable or like exciting was a 50-yard touchdown between CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. And like that literally cost me the fantasy week because that's 26 points when you have both of them on your team. And I watched that play. That was it wasn't even a good play. It was a defensive breakdown. No one covered him.
It was kind of a fluke, yeah.
Yeah, he had 10 yards of separation between him and every other person and then just ran in a straight line. Truly, and it's funny because the Jaguars are 2-1. Like, they actually have a good record, and apparently the locker room energy is good despite all of the angst coming from the outside. But they haven't looked good. Again, Brian Thomas, again, only had 2 catches on 6 targets. Still no chemistry with him and Lawrence. The Travis Hunter thing is just getting louder and louder, despite, I will say, to Travis Hunter's compliment, his one catch he made looked great. Like, full on, caught it at 5 yards, did a big spin, got 21 yards. And then he actually looked great in coverage. And I'm like, okay, so it's clearly the problem here is they didn't have a plan. Not that he can't do this. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence is still inaccurate as shit. And then you watch the Texans, and it's even more infuriating because they were supposed to be good. Like, what happened?
The internet?
Well, I know what happened.
Yeah.
But they invested in bad offensive line players and traded away Laramie Tunsil after one bad year, and now their offensive line is somehow even worse.
Yeah. No, it was...
It really did... Oh, go ahead.
It was just like, yes, it was close, but man, why is this a football game? This is a relegation match. There, I said it.
Right. Yeah, this wasn't a loser leaves town match. This is a loser has to learn how to play a different sport match because no one wants to see this. And again, it is like the bowl of, it's alarming how quickly CJ Stroud, like just in terms of like the chatter in like the sports media, has already gotten to the Trevor Lawrence space of like people sweatily trying to defend him. Yeah. Was he a one-season fluke? People sweatily trying to defend him and being like, it's everyone else's fault. And then everyone else being like, shut up, nerds, he sucks. And I watch it and I try to convince myself that's not it. Because again, he's one of our baby boys. We love the guy. Yeah, like, I want him to succeed.
I think the case is still, though, he has no offensive line. He's got nothing to hide behind.
You're right, because I watch it and I'm like, okay, but again, it is so funny that, like, honestly, one of the things I'd recommend for, like, people who are getting into football is watch offensive lines, because it is kind of easy to tell when one is, like, quote-unquote good or not. Like, obviously, there's a lot of different, like, blocking schemes and a lot of different approaches to blocking that will sometimes leave certain guys open or do this or do that. But it is so crazy how quickly you can see, like, the combination of a lack of talent and also a lack of plan just on display. And we have both in sort of, like, big blocky letters. Oh, yeah, just a gross game. It really is like one of the first football games, because even that beatdown of the Saints, I'm like, wow, interesting stuff is happening. Like, I'm fascinated at how good the Seahawks defense looks. Like, this is the first game where I'm full on like, this is bad.
This is
that weirdly that and the Vikings-Bengals game where the Bengals were just non-competitive and
the Vikings game was 100%. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have my older brother beat your older brother, and it's like one older brother is like a 5th grader, and the other older brother is the star quarterback of their high school, and it's just like
yes,
that was the drastic difference.
Right. Yeah. The Bengals, it just kind of felt like, look, I know Minnesota's defense is good, and Isaiah Rodgers, the defensive back for the Vikings, had 2 touchdowns, forced a fumble, got an interception, kind of looked like a man possessed out there. But I'm also like, Yeah, the season's over. Like, I don't know why people are trying to talk themselves into Jake Browning, because I went back and looked at it when he had to play that year.
Well, it's simple. I was
Uh,
hoping he would throw it to Jamar Chase the entire time, and that's how he
right,
would get fantasy points. And that clearly didn't happen.
right. Truly, just like again, truly the Hey Arnold episode where the coach's kid is on the team, and the coach is just like, pass the ball to Tucker. You get the ball, pass the ball to Tucker. I really thought, oh, well, if you can just throw it to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins enough, you could probably aggregate a decent offense. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Um, but even looking back at Jake Browning's stats from the 1 year he had to play a lot, he wasn't that good outside of like 2 games. I don't know why they talked themselves into this. But also, it's like, look, I get it. This isn't Madden. You can't just trade for a quarterback and just have him go in. Like, you have to learn the offense and and get the offense used to the cadence and get used to like all the different like terminology, because every team has different terminology for everything,
Mm-hmm.
and like general competency and chemistry with all of the people in the room. Like, just likability, frankly. Like, what if they don't like the new quarterback? Genuinely, the only reason the Bills keep Mitchell Trubisky around is because Josh Allen is friends with him. Um, but like, I don't know how you don't just panic trade for Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston at this point, because it kind of feels like this had to be the year. You spent the money.
Yeah.
Like, there's no more money. There's no more draft picks. You kind of have to win now.
Yeah. I'll see.
Notable, yes. Notable notes. This is an interesting fact from you. Every division has a 3-0 team except the Norths, both AFC and NFC.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because those were the two divisions that were the best last year.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's just like one of those like, this is actually like a legitimate fun fact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was going to say, probably talk about the Bills being this like, the juggernaut, the team to beat. And I'm like, we have 3-0 teams in the NFL or the AFC right now. Like, there's a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
And the question of the week. As we reach the quarter point of the season, what player and team are you selling the most stock from? I will say Texans is the obvious answer, but
This is a very obvious answer. But who am I selling the most stock out of? Hmm. I think. I think it might be the Ravens. Like,
interesting.
I'm not saying they're like, oh, we're a bunch of losers so bad, but I think, their performances are like score heavy, and yes, they did have a close one against the Bills, dominate against the Browns, and then a close loss against the Lions. They're very much displaying can't finish energy,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know about you, but when they have the Chiefs this week, and then in 2 weeks they have the Rams, and they got like a sparkling of like Dolphins and Texans and Jets and stuff throughout there. But then it's like, all right, you have the Packers to end the season, towards the end of the season. You have the Steelers twice, which is a crapshoot team.
Right.
And
This is actually a really good pick. Because I was just thinking about like something about Derrick Henry, because they lost the Lions this week. I believe it was by 8 points, but it
Right,
felt like they
38 to
kind of got a
30.
garbage time touchdown at the end.
Yeah, they got a 30 seconds left. Mark Andrews touchdown.
And like, granted, a huge chunk of the game was closer, but it was like we saw red flags that we haven't seen with the Ravens before. Like, they actually kind of rope-a-dope Lamar Jackson a lot. I think he took like 4 or 5 sacks, which is just something that's not supposed to happen with him, especially this newer version who's even more elite as like a pocket presence guy.
7 sacks allowed.
7.
7
Jesus.
sacks allowed. Yeah.
All right. And Derrick Henry once again fumbled in a critical moment that kind of swung the game completely to the Lions. And the Lions were doing their usual, like, stunting on him, doing trick plays and stuff. Because I think it's actually very personal now for Dan Campbell that people considered, full on did the whole, like, yeah, that's Ben Johnson's offense, buddy. They don't throw out the playbooks. And also, Dan Campbell's an offensive coach.
Nah, son, watch this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the energy he brings. I do love the idea that they have to it would be so, oh my God, why hasn't someone done that? What if an offensive coordinator patented all of his plays, like his playbook? So when he leaves, the team's not allowed to use any of the plays or they get sued.
I'm sure there's some sort of a rule against that.
Right. I'm like, that's impossible to enforce legally.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, already we're having trouble with the whole, like, Mickey Mouse's public domain thing. Disney tried to enforce it based off trademark. They got sued by a law firm. And basically now it's going to the courts to just be like, all right, can we just figure out how much Mickey Mouse you're allowed to have? But yeah, and then the Derrick Henry fumble. And seeing him, like, actually melt down on the sideline, I'm like, this feels weird vibe-wise.
And ate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually like, okay, that's actually a red flag. It reminded me of a moment when the Phillies lost to the Diamondbacks where I watched someone, like, smash their bat to pieces and I'm like, oh, now we're actually going to lose. Like, they're spiraling.
Yeah.
But
it's one of those, like, it's like, this isn't a good look. And it's just like, it's all right to have a meltdown and stuff. But it's like, this does not look great for the team. Like, for you guys, when you should be a star-studded team. Looking at you, Travis Kelce meltdowns.
Yeah, that guy. No comment. Well, actually, that's a notable note. An article came out from Yahoo explaining that the NFL refused to meet Taylor Swift's demands for a Super Bowl appearance. And I'm like, oh my fucking... She was going to be the Super Bowl halftime show this year, wasn't she?
I don't think it was like that. I think it's one of those just clickbait things where it's just like, yeah, Taylor Swift isn't doing this because of these demands that she has, like, stated for other shows and stuff. And the NFL's like,
I don't know. The way the article was written made it sound like it was at least a conversation.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a conversation at some point over the years, but I think it's just not safe for her. I think
God, that's true.
Like, outside of
that's
all
why
the other discourse in the world, I think just being the fiance of one of the main players on the last year's We Are Totally the Bad Guys team.
Mm-hmm. Well, God, that's a bleak joke that I don't know if I can... Well, I did make the quip in our group chat of, like, if she did the Super Bowl and it was announced beforehand, or even after, and the Bills lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs again, Bills fans would commit a crime of terror that would rival the Munich hostage crisis.
Yeah.
But no, because I only think about it because it's weird that they haven't announced it yet. They almost always announce it within, like, the first week or two of the season. And the fact that they haven't makes me think, like, fuck, did she say no and now they have to, like, come up with a backup plan?
I mean, I'd be surprised if they're just like, we're only going to do one team. Or, like, one band or one group that's it. And it's just like, that's kind of
Where's the Super Bowl
crazy.
being held again?
They have 3. I don't know, actually.
Let me look it up. Super Bowl location.
Okay. All right, you got
it. It is in... Oh, no, that was last year's. Levy Stadium in California. Well, you already did, like, the Rappers of California, so you can't do that again.
Was a good one.
Yeah, that was a fun one, actually. That's one of the ones... Like, I like that they've gotten more, like... I don't know. I like that they've gotten more showy. Like, I was very partial to the classic rock era, but I understand why they pivoted away from that. Shoot, who could you do? Well, it's coming up.
I was like, who is this? I mixed up San Francisco's, their football team
Oh.
stadium and their baseball team stadium's names. I was just like, that can't be San Francisco. That's all.
I don't know. Maybe the Eagles. Like, that'd be funny if they pivot back to classic rock. But anyway,
I've been kind of pushing for that, but yeah.
I'd like them to at least mix it up. We don't have to always do pop hits. I'm selling stock on the Raiders. I'm sorry to do this to you, but I think I think this team is a very good lesson in like, yeah, the offensive line actually does matter a whole lot.
Correct.
In terms of like, on paper, this team should actually be pretty good. You've got Pete Carroll, you've got Chip Kelly coming off one of his better runs as an offensive coordinator. You bring in Geno, who's an objective upgrade over anyone they've had at quarterback recently. You bring in Ashton Genty, and it's like, what could go wrong? Oh, right, we couldn't block last year, and we didn't invest enough to make it work this year. And the stat that I just keep thinking about is how, in terms of percentage of yards after contact, like basically the idea is like how many yards does a running back get after he gets hit for the first time? And ideally, you kind of want it somewhere in the middle. The idea that he can shed tackles, but he's not getting like hits behind the line of scrimmage. Because a high percentage suggests you're getting hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot. Ashton Genty has 101% of his yards after contact. It's like we've already in full Barry Sanders territory where he simultaneously has the most negative yard gains but also the most positive yard gains because he has to do so much every single play just to get some yards. Yeah, and like I like to think they'll turn it around. I like to think that they'll try new things, but sometimes a bad offensive line is just the death of a season, and it's not something like it's not like you know it's not a thing you can trade for to fix because more than anything, it's so continuity based. Like if you trade for a wide receiver, you just have to get them up to speed with like connection with the quarterback and like, here's your package of plays where you might get the ball thrown to you. Offensive line is so built around like scheme and strategy and like knowing exactly where the other four guys are going to be. Like it is kind of just the way it is.
Yeah, it
And
is
yeah,
what
I'm
it
going to say
is.
it, losing to Marcus Mariota in the year of our Lord 2025 is pretty fucked up.
Yeah,
Shall we move on to next week?
we shall. So,
All right.
step one, we're heading to Dublin.
In literally 24 hours, that game's, or 12 hours, that game's going to be starting.
Yeah, just about.
It,
Vikings Steelers. It's a very interesting game
mhm.
for it, but I will say it doesn't seem like a waste. Like
Yeah, it's a
if
weird one to
if they had
send.
Texans Titans were like something that's more likely to be a blowout, like Saints Bills, I would say
Hmm.
that sucks, buddy. But it's at least a fun-ish level of competitiveness of two teams that are relatively popular worldwide, and
Hmm.
they at least seem like they could be competitive. It shouldn't be like a blowout.
Right. Yeah, and I think like, and again, all of this is graded on the curve of like we've sent some real dog water games to
Other
what's the word?
places,
Yeah.
Europe,
Mostly England has gotten the real
they
stinkers, and
gotten
Berlin has gotten some stinkers.
yeah they gotten shafted a couple times. Won't deny that.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. At least this game, even if it's not the best version of the Vikings because Carson Wentz is playing, and even if this version of the Steelers still is kind of like a clunker, at least they're like notable teams. At least you're like these are two, maybe not. Well, the Steelers were a prestige franchise. The Vikings aren't a prestige franchise, but they're a household name. They've been important for a long time. So at least you're
They have
getting, yeah, at least you're getting
relevancy.
brand names there. Um, Also this week, Jackson Dart plays his very first game. Um, the Russell Wilson era of New York Giants football ends not with a bang, but with a really, really sad whimper. I think the series that did it was basically their final chance to score against the Chiefs. I believe there were two different throws between the four down goal line attempt where Russell Wilson hit the goalpost with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, he couldn't come back from that. You don't want Jackson Dart to play against a 3-0 Chargers team, but you can't, in good faith, ask everyone to go out and play after that.
I think there's also the factor. I think we talked about this where it's like they have no good point of releasing Jackson Dart
Hmm.
in their
Right. It's a
schedule.
weirdly tough schedule.
It's oddly tough. Like you could get one gimme game here or there and get lucky with him, but because you're in the Eagles division and they won, that's going to make it more difficult. The Commanders doing so good last season is going to make it more difficult.
Hmm.
And then it's like, all right, this kind of just sucks for you guys.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because of how they plot schedules and stuff like that.
Right. Whether they like it or not, this is probably just the best thing you could do because it's like you got to know,
You just got to
like,
commit.
obviously this isn't the best scenario to put him out there, but like even Josh Allen who had a rough rookie year, even like quarterbacks who have rough rookie years, there is at least enough that you witness that like you're like, okay, this guy can run with the big boy. He can play in the space. We can give him more time. And
Mm-hmm.
more importantly, you need to see if Daboll's gambit is that like a rookie quarterback can save his job. And like you kind of need to know whether you're firing this guy at the end of the year or not.
Yeah.
You weren't going to make that decision based off what he did with
Danny
Russell
Dimes.
Wilson,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, or Danny Dimes, or even Jameis for that matter.
Yeah, I think it's just this is rough for him. Um, he's he's lining up with Scadaboo, who I feel like is just hangs out with Jameis Winston.
I
No,
feel like you want to put him in the baby boy group,
I'm
but he's not a baby. He's a
no,
lunatic.
he's he's a delightful like lunatic that it's just like all right, this guy's gonna go insane, and it's either gonna be great or he's gonna hate it. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be it sucks that this is how he has to start. He doesn't have like a stretch of like pay like he plays Patriots, Raiders, Saints lined up with like the 49ers in there as like a real test team. He doesn't
Mhm.
have that, which sucks for him. Um, but he plays all those teams sporadically, so it's gonna be a little bit rough.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm willing to give it a chance because the words coming out of camp were so high end in terms of
I've
like
I've
them believing
liked
in this guy.
yeah I've liked what I've seen of his college. I've liked what I've seen of his camp. It's just a matter of how you finish. That's it.
Right. Yeah. It's either going to be a pleasant surprise or Josh Allen is going to have a public press conference where he's like, yo, can you stop comparing me to these trash ass quarterback prospects? I went to Wyoming, man.
Yeah.
Like, of course I didn't look good. Um, Biggest game of the week. I'm curious what you think this is.
Biasedly, Eagles Buccaneers because that's actually two competitive teams,
Hmm.
and the Eagles can't seem to get one over. Less biased, I'm thinking Ravens Chiefs. That's typically a conference final game, and the fact
Yes.
that it's just at like a 4 o'clock time slot, um, I will say the fact that the 8 o'clock game is Packers Cowboys, and it's gonna be everyone's gonna call it the Michael Parsons revenge game.
Hmm.
If they aren't already. Um, that one, like, I don't think it
Revenge game.
deserves.
Thank you for trading me to a better team.
I don't think it deserves that time slot based off of team skills. However,
Right.
the
Narrative.
the narrative and the memeability of it, it's just like, all right, this is kind of funny. I like this. Um, yeah, that's where I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah, I am curious about that Chiefs Ravens game because one of them is going to be 1-3, as insane as that sounds, and
That's
it
super
feels,
insane.
yeah, and I feel like of the two teams, the one that could survive being 1-3 is the rate. Like, if the Chiefs go 1-3, I really am like, oh
I
shit,
think
this
they
is
might be
over.
done. I
Yeah,
think that might be season for them if they go 1-3. But I don't think it's season if the Ravens start out like that.
yeah, because again, I don't believe in the Steelers team, and they're the only team with a winning record and a will to live, frankly. So they could probably survive that. the Chiefs have two teams who might just be better than them, and that's including Denver, who's been kind of a disappointment so far. Like, they might not come back from that.
Yeah.
Our don't sleep on games. I picked Cleveland versus Detroit because now I think. Also, in the notes, I should say I called it the Dart era darts. But yes, now I'm basically I'm curious about every game Cleveland plays now against an elite offense because it's like that Green Bay game is what. Yeah, that Green Bay game is why you justify keeping Myles Garrett around, even though you might not be a good team. Because again, having a top 5 defensive player elevates everyone else so much that you can kind of squeak out at least a handful of games by just sheerly discombobulating the other team. And I do think Detroit has been on a heater. You know, the only game Detroit hasn't looked good in is the other guy who does that for his team, Micah Parsons with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. So for me to fully buy into Detroit this year, I kind of need to see them do it in this game. I kind of need to see them be like, we can work around an elite pass rusher and like have our way.
Mm-hmm.
And yours, Jacksonville, San Francisco. That's a fun one.
I think Jacksonville's got this weird upward vibe to them where, like, yeah, they lost to the Bengals, but they beat the Panthers and they didn't lose against the Texans. And I'm not saying the same argument could be said about the 49ers, but the 49ers haven't been, like, I think they're the weakest of the 3-0 teams. They won by 4, they won by 5, they won by 1. And that's Seahawks, Saints, Cardinals. I think this game could be plucky. We're going to say plucky. Is it going to be, like, I think this is going to be just a game to watch because of how many 49ers are injured.
Right. It is somehow, you know, their team usually works in a cycle where everyone's hurt one year and then they're healthy all the other years. Yeah. It's like, no, we're just going to have repeat everyone's hurt years, but be okay in spite of that. I think
I would say when the 49ers are healthy, they're a scary team, but they do catch up on injuries frequently. So
yes.
I think that injury catch-up season that's happening right now for them is what makes this game actually a don't sleep on.
Right. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head this one. Jacksonville is the most successful team who I don't think anyone thinks is good. And San Francisco, like, as much as I rag on Shanahan, this is kind of his masterpiece in terms of, like, can I make it work with truly nobody?
And the answer is yes.
Evidently, yes. So maybe, the haters doubted me, and I actually proved them wrong. Sorry, haters. Yeah, I think it actually could be a pretty fun game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The word I'm using is plucky.
It's a good word for it. Shall I wrap us up for the week?
Yeah, send us home, Carter.
Thank you all for listening. By the time you hear us next week, it will be week 5. We've gotten through a whole quarter of the season. The best time of the year because you have just enough to start panicking and overreacting and making loud, bold declarations of certainty. But there hasn't been enough for any of that to be proven true. Teams could turn it around. Teams could fall apart. Teams could be 1-3 facing down the long prospect of slogging through the rest of the year. Teams could be 4-0 and feel like they're cruising. No matter what, we are going into October with a bunch of big stories, a lot of plucky teams, and a lot of exciting things to talk about with you guys. Until then, we'll see you next week.